Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It's cooled down a bit now in the UK, or in my bit of the UK, so I'm very relieved about that. I can be back up in my craft room. So I've got a lot of catching up to show you. I've been downstairs stitching for a few days, catching up on some unfinished projects. So I've got a lot of progress to show you. I've got some invitations for you, and I've got some little hints about what might be coming up in the pipeline for the next few weeks. So let's have a look. I'm going to go to the oldest project first and show you that one. This is my almost finished Scrappy string quilt. I say almost because I think I still want to. I've had some lovely beads and charms and things in Happy Mail just recently, so I want to put some danglers on the tie, and perhaps some little extra doodads on here. But yeah, but it's essentially finished. So I thought you'd like to see how this one went. I might need a bit more space actually. So to make the cover, I used this. This was already a patchwork. It came in one of those gorgeous Bazaar packs. I'll put a link to Bazaar below because I've used a lot of Bazaar fabrics in this, and I do love their scrap packs. They're all reclaimed fabrics. I love their ethics. I love the things that they sell. I think they're a really good price and everything, and they're just lovely people. I will leave a link to them. If you do order anything from Bazaar, remember you can put a note to the seller at the end when you're checking out. I'll put it here. Arty Farty Annie Treat. And if you do that, they'll put a little extra doodad in with your order, which is really nice. Let's have a look at this. This is largely Bazaar fabrics that I used to make this. I'm really chuffed with how it turned out. I used an idea by I Am Linny. Everybody that I mention, all the YouTubers I mention, I'm going to put links to in the description box. So this is Linny from I Am Linny, him on YouTube, and she had this idea about doing a stitch sampler and putting it all inside kind of a book and folding out. So I've pinched that idea. That's what I've decided to do with my Scrappy string quilt piece. Here we go. So the idea is you open it up like a book. I've used this piece came as it was. This was in one of the Bazaar scrap packs. It's like 2 layers of silk stitched together with these tiny stitches. I love these tiny straight stitches. And you can see that mine aren't quite so tiny or straight, but I still love them. I just love that look. Of all the slow stitching that I do, it's the straight stitching I love the look of and the doing of the best of all, I think. So here's how it all turned out in the end. So for anybody that is thinking, yes, but what is it for? It's not for anything. It's just for the love of doing it. I don't know, I can do every so often I will take it out and enjoy looking at all these lovely little pieces of fabric and little tiny, I use really tiny scraps, little bits that, you know, were only just big enough to escape going into my orts jar. Little bits of trims, ribbons, fibres, all sorts. It's you can see I've now stitched and added so much stuff into it and so much stitching, you forget where the original squares were. But you can see them, but you're seeing the diamonds more than the squares, or I am anyway. And now when you bend it like this, the gaps in between have just disappeared, you know. You could equally well make a bag or a journal cover, or Susie Q made the most gorgeous needle case cover with hers, needle book with hers, absolutely beautiful. And I've just been recently watching Corinne over at To Be Loved Treasures, is it? Yeah, To Be Loved Treasures by Corinne. Again, I will leave links to all these people. She's been doing a rice bag, a Japanese rice bag, and one of the panels is going to be a set of 4 of the squares that she's made in this lovely shabby chic style. They were beautiful. Lizzie Brewer did her own version and went completely off piste with it. Lizzie Brewer is Scrapping Lizzie. It's been lovely. I've been so excited to see all the different takes on this idea from when I first it first pinged into my head a few months ago or a few weeks ago. It just feels like months. It is, I can't tell you what a thrill it is to see all the people who've posted their versions in the Arty Farty Annie group on Facebook and in our Discord community. I've just been blown away. They are so beautiful, and yeah, it really is such a buzz, I can't tell you. If you're not already a member of our Discord community, I highly recommend it. It's such a lovely place to spend some time and meet everybody. I will put my link tree in the description as well, so in there you'll find links to the Facebook group, the Discord community. There's also my Instagram and stuff like that if you want to contact me personally. My email's in there. So yeah, I will put a link to that as well. If you don't want to do any of the social media, but you want to show us what you've made, you could always email it to me and I'll share it. So, because I always love to see, we all love to see what each other creates. It's just so inspiring. So I was going to fold it like a book, more like Linny did it, but I just kind of made the cover wrong and the proportions weren't right. So in the end, what I've done is I've kind of gone like this and then sort of rolled it, and that works fine for me. So that's my finished, except for extra embellishments on the actual wrap. That's my Scrappy string quilt finished for now. I now want to start another one. I think this time I'm going to maybe try denim scraps and things like pillar ticking and old lace and things like that. Somebody has asked about how I would make a bag out of it, so I think next time I will make a bag and show you how I would turn the finished piece into a bag. And I might also try doing it this time more in the way I did the whatnot stitching, where you don't end up with so many raw edges to have to worry about, because it does mean you do, like Corinne was saying, it's fun and it's you can really get into it, but there's a lot of hours of work to stitch and add trims and things to the point where the squares all meld together and you kind of lose the joins. So I might come up with a slightly less time consuming way to do it. I think for me though, the idea was the time didn't matter. That's the whole point of slow stitching, just get into it. It takes as long as it takes, but if it gets to a point where it's not fun anymore, then there's no point in it. So yeah, I might see if I can come up with a slightly simpler way of doing it. I don't know, I'll have a little play anyway, but I will be doing another one. And it's so to see other people's versions of the colours and things that they've used. It's just just makes you want to start all over again and do another one. Anyway, so that's that. I need to not waffle quite so long because it's going to be a really long video. What's next on my list? So Eurographic stitching. Who's been having a go at Eurographic stitching? I know a few people have shared in their in the Discord so far their versions of it. Let's have a look at where mine has gone. I haven't done so much on this as I thought I was going to. So here we are. This is where I'm going. I think when I left you last, I'd done the black lines and the little stars at all the intersections, and then I said I was going to start using these coloured threads. I'm keeping quite a harmonious colour scheme. I'm just following the lines that I already had. I didn't draw anything out this time. I just followed them randomly with my needle. Literally just kind of took my needle for a walk. I've done mostly straight stitches, but I've just whipped some of them like I showed last time. This one here that looks like I've couched it down, it's actually a back stitch, and then I've done like a kind of faux couching at all of the in between each of the stitches. I just found that easier to just quickly stitch the line first and then do the couching, otherwise I'd have had to draw it out and I didn't really want to. A little bit of a fly stitch there. I've recently discovered I was confused between Y stitch, fly stitch and feather stitch. Apparently it's feather stitch when they kind of go either side, when they're all in a straight line it's a fly stitch, but I think that can also be called a Y stitch. And then a chain stitch here, and I've just tried to kind of vary the thicknesses of that as well, just to keep it more interesting. I might still add some more colouring, but I think with this one I'm going to keep it simple and just randomly do the stitching. On Saturday, so this is the first of the invitations I've got for you. So this Saturday coming up, it is the 27th today. I'm hoping I'll get this video out later today. It does take me a while to edit though. So this Saturday, the 1st of July, from 8 PM to 10 PM UK time, it's Saturday Night In with Arty Farty Annie. I try to do it on the first Saturday of every month. So this time I always have a little activity. I very rarely finish it, but I always have something to be doing. I'll show you the one I did last time in a minute, because I finished that now. This time I'm going to be doing a couple more backgrounds ready for some more neurographic stitching, because I think there's a lot more possibilities with this whole idea. So I'll go into the whole neurographic stitching idea a little bit more and create some more backgrounds using different kind of supplies. So if you want to join in, get some, like, I don't know, just calico or something that's nice and easy to stitch into, that won't mind getting wet, you know. And then whatever you've got to add a bit of colour. This isn't something that's going to be going through the washing machine or wet, so it doesn't really matter. If you've got nothing else, if you're not into arts and things as well as your stitching, you might not have, you know, inks and things you can use. Experiment with food colouring, or even felt pens. You can do an awful lot with felt pens, especially if you get the water soluble kind, which most kind of normal felt pens are. You can spritz them with water and get some interesting effects that way. Or to be honest, it's only just occurred to me this second, but what about a coffee or tea dyeing some, just something to add a little bit of colour in the background to a piece of fabric. And then if you've got if it's very thin, I ended up backing mine onto a sturdier piece of cotton. You could put it on a frame if you've got one and that's what you want to do. But to be honest, you could have a plain old white pillowcase, you know, one that's seen better days. You could stitch the 2 layers of it together. We'll throw some colour on it, and we'll start scribbling out some lines and make a start on another neurographic stitching piece. I also think I'd like to try using some lighter colour threads on dark fabric, so you might want to think about that. So if you'd like to join me in that, bring along whatever you, or just bring along whatever you're doing anyway, or just sit and join in the chat. You don't have to be doing anything at all. If you do though, if you're on our Discord, you can go into the stream follow along room. I've forgotten what it's called right now, but we'll say about it on the night, and you can like put in pics and things of what you're actually up to while you're following along. Also, regarding the live, last couple of times we've had a few people join us in the voice chat. You need to be in the Discord group to do that. Discord group is all free. Check out the link I will put in the description box. If you would like to join us in the chat, because we ended up with too many of us in there all talking over each other at the same time a little bit last time, we're just going to have 2 people in at a time. So if anybody would like to join us in the voice chat this time, please let us know, and we'll sort it out ahead of time. We'll sort out what time you'll need to go into the little community chat room first, and then Tom will pull you in. So Tom, my son Tom, regular viewers will know my son Tom. Big news this time, he's actually going to join. He has said he would join in and do a bit of slow stitching himself. He's not actually going to be able to be here in person. It's too difficult for him to get here on Saturday, this Saturday. So he's going to join us remotely from his place, and he will be slow stitching, and we'll be able to see what he's doing on camera as well. So I've said it in public now, he's got to do it. Knowing him, he'll be really excellent at it. He'll do it once and he'll never do it again. He'll just do it once to show me up. So all I needed to say. Oh yes, and one more thing I was going to say about neurographic stitching. If you want to try some different stitching and think some different ways of adding the lines and perhaps filling in little areas, check out Create and Craft with Christine. I'll put a link to her as well. So Christine, you'll know from our Discord as well. She's doing this kind of stitchery at the moment. She's doing an alphabet of stitches, and they're brilliant. I've seen stitches I've never heard of before, and she's making a little kind of booklet out of them. More about that in a minute as well. And yeah, so I'd love to follow along with those and learn some new stitches. It's really fun, and this would be a nice way to kind of try it, put those 2 projects together, I think. So need to move on. So here is my finished piece now from the last live that we did, when I did fabric painting. It's probably better on the desk, isn't it? So this was using the fabric paints from an Upgrade box, which Barbara Brady sent me. Thank you, BB. So this is how it turned out. I decided to add some stitching, because this was all the prompt was, show who you are. So obviously this is my little kind of logo thing, and I really enjoyed painting it. I think I'd kind of finished this bit of the painting at the end of the live, and then afterwards I thought, right, I'm going to paint in the butterflies, and then I'm going to add some stitching, because that really is an important part of who I am, I think. So here we go. That's how it turned out. I was really happy with that. And it stayed lovely and flexible. It was nice and easy to stitch through. I haven't completely finished this because what I want to do, you'll see that it's a real mess on the back. I can't leave it like that. So I'm going to find some, part of the reason I haven't finished it is that I can't find quite the right, I want some suitably funky fabric to go on the inside. Make this whole thing more sturdy and look really nice. And then I'll probably stitch through the handles as well. And then this is the back. So I just need to stitch around these butterflies, and these are a really fluorescent pink. They were the pens that came in the kit. They were really fluorescent pink, which isn't showing up too well on camera actually, but yeah. And that was one of the markers as well. It's lovely how flexible they stay, and if I just run a hot iron over this, they'll be permanent, which is brilliant. I might fill that in a bit more now I look at it. It's a bit, but perhaps it's nice to have it a little bit sketchy looking, or I might stitch around that as well. Yeah, so that's kind of nearly done. I'm just looking for the right fabric for a lining. I just haven't got quite the right thing at the moment, but I'm sure the right thing will present itself. So that's that. That was last time's live. What's next? So the other stitching project I've just started recently is Manx Quilting. So this was recommended to me by Lisa. I can't remember her username, it's quite long. Lisa something or other. I'll tag her in this so she sees it. I'm so grateful, Lisa, because I absolutely really enjoyed Manx Quilting, and part of the reason I loved it is that there are similarities in a way to Kawandi, which I love too, because it came out of people trying to make the most of every little scrap of fabric and not waste anything, reuse everything, and also very limited supplies, not even a pair of scissors. They probably just like or knife and tore the fabrics. So I was like snip and tear. So that and a needle, didn't even use pins in the end, and it just uses small strips of fabric. It's all hand stitched with a straight stitch, again similar to Kawandi, but the finished effect is very, very different. It looks more like the American kind of log cabin thing, which I had never done before. So let me show you, because I had one or two hiccups with this and ended up unpicking them and putting them back together again. So here is how two of my finished squares have ended up. I'll tell you what I'm doing with this in a minute. Now I ended up taking all my squares apart and putting them back together again, because I had decided I didn't need to worry about the dark and light and stuff. I was just going to think about where I wanted the colours. It didn't look right at all. So a couple of the ladies in our Discord group were very helpful, and Granny Sue especially gave me an actual kind of like a diagram of how to lay out the colours. So basically dark and light, like she said, is more important than colour for this. I thought it just looks sort of wrong otherwise. And the idea is that you would end up putting them together. So you'd either, no, I've put this together wrong now. So initially I was going to have the blue ones in the middle. So in the way these are, so they form like a cross in the middle. Then I decided I just didn't like the blue with the pale around the outside, so I was going to do it this way. Then I realised that somehow, because the other thing about this kind of quilting is you don't use any measuring, you don't use a ruler or anything like that. It's all done with your hands. So the initial square is your hand span. The centre square, the hearth square, which traditionally is in red, is the length of your middle finger. And then the strips, the outside strips, the width of those, you just cut continuous strips and then cut them as you go, is the length from the base of your thumb to the base of your thumbnail. So it's that. And then you fold them back and you get this kind of pleated effect. So this is what they come out like. And all the stitching is hidden on the inside. You can see on the back, but you can't see anything on the front. So you can just use a running stitch. And you know, like the lady whose tutorial I was using pointed out, they would have been working by candlelight. They wouldn't have been able to do perfect tiny fine stitching. So the fact that you could use hand stitching and it didn't have to be perfect was a real bonus. But somehow in the course of, I think, taking these apart and doing them again, I kind of lost the creases. You start off by making by folding these squares diagonally, and then you fold the edges in to create these creased guidelines. And I think because I took them apart so many times, I think I ended up losing the plot a bit, and somehow these two squares ended up bigger than these two squares, which is a bit strange. So then, as luck would have it, I saw another video by another one of my friends here on YouTube, Passim Potty. Possum Patty, and she gave me an idea for what I could do with just using 2 of the squares. So now I've got 2 different ideas that I'm going to do with these 2 different pieces. First of all, I left these unfinished so that I could show you how it is you finish the back, so, or how it is you put them together. So you get these 2 squares, you fold the lining, the backing, back out of the way like that, put these together, stitch them together. Again, I just used a running stitch. Then you open them out, press those seams down, and now you can fold these down. Let's do it that way, and just do a little turn under, and just neatly kind of ladder stitch or whatever you want to do, over stitch or whatever down there, just to finish that off. So I thought it was a really nice way of finishing it. I think I prefer the way you do it with Kawandi, where basically you start with the back and you're stitching everything to the back and you haven't got to do anything like this afterwards. Having said that, I've never tried making a really large Kawandi, so if you wanted to make something really big, this would probably be easier. Then I decided to do what I wanted to do, because it was going to be opening, it was going to be bending a lot like this. I didn't want it doing this, opening out like that. So although I love the looks of these pleats, in the end what I decided to do was add my favourite, straight stitching. So I just did spirals of straight stitching round and round in a plain white, 2 strands of white stranded cotton. And then I bound the edge just using some bias binding, which I happen to have a lot of. So I'm going to use this one for Possum Patty's project, which I'll tell you about in a minute, and then this one I think I'm going to turn into a little booklet with a simple binding. It will just be a couple of lengths of ribbon or something, which I'll create some eyelets here and here, and I'll just run a loop of ribbon through there, tie it here, put some charms on the end, and then I can slip fabric pages inside there, a bit like you do with a traveller's journal. And that I could turn into my little stitchery and follow along with Christine, Create and Craft with Christine. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with these 2 pieces. With this one, I've done this. Now this is my take on the idea I saw Possum Patty doing, which was a flow journal. Now I've never heard of a flow journal before, but apparently from the way I understand it, it's not necessarily fabric, it could be paper crafts as well, like if you do junk journaling and things, and it's just a way to put the small a selection of small scraps of fabrics and things together to carry about with you, really, or to have handy in your workroom. So it's like, right, I'm working on that project today. And what Patty did was she got she was actually converting a leather wallet that had kind of a pocket here, a pocket there. I think it's meant for a passport. And then the idea was that she created this piece that tucked in. So I just used an extra piece of the fabric I'd used in here and made these little strips, and then used another piece of one of the gorgeous, all of these gorgeous fabrics came from Granny Sue, by the way. Thank you, Granny Sue. Absolutely loved them. I thought this was a really nice way to showcase those gorgeous fabrics, and this was another one of those fabrics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this piece in half. That's 10 1/4, so 5 1/8. So I'll score that there. Okay, and I'm just wondering whether to do some more score lines and have it more roundy. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay. Right. I mean, you definitely could just fold a piece of card, to be honest. You don't need to be doing it but you know, I've got these tools, I may as well use them. Right, so then I'm going to put a couple of eyelets here and here because I want to put some elastic through. So I don't want them there, I don't want them there. I think there, give them a bit of space in between. Okay. And again, you could just use a hole punch, but I happen to have a handy crocodile, which is very underused, so I'm going to use that. Right, and I've got 4 little eyelets here. I'm just going to pop them in. Don't need them, just, you know, I've got them, let's use them. There we go. So that's sort of give me a nice sort of neat finish to it. But as I say, you really don't need that. You could just poke a hole with something. It doesn't, you know, it's not crucial. Just a shame not to use these things if you got them in it. And then I got some of this corded elastic. Again, I think any kind of elastic would do. And in fact, you could probably just do it with a tied piece of ribbon if you haven't got any elastic. So now, what did she do? I think she started... Okay, I'm going to come in from the back. I think this will work. Down through there. Up through there. Back out through here again. There we go. So I've just created this kind of casual binding, really. I want it to be fairly tight, but not so tight it's going to do that. I think that's probably about right. Just tie a little knot. Okay, so that now fits inside there. And then the idea is, so here are some of my scraps I was using to make my, not scraps, some of them quite nice big pieces, to make my Manx quilt pieces. So the idea is that you can put all of it, because sometimes you only want tiny pieces like this, don't you, for your slow stitching projects, and you can just attach them like this. You might need to fold some of them. And you've got sort of bigger pieces, just, you know, fold them up to fit. And you can do it with collage papers, if that's what you're taking downstairs with you, or out in the garden, or away on holiday. And then you just take a piece, snip off the little bit you need, leave the rest in there. It did occur to me, that's why I put that there to remind me that if I put a couple of these, in fact I could put several of these on there, because they're always handy when I'm doing my slow stitching, so they could just be on there anyway. But I could also use them to, so if I've got any really tiny pieces, too tiny to go in here, they could clip on there as well, or they could just clip on here, couldn't they? You know. So I will go through and fill this up to take downstairs with me, and I'll post a little picture. I think that's a really brilliant idea. And the other thing I thought was, I've put a book ring here that kind of coordinates nicely. I could just slot that around there. I could have made a little, in fact I could probably use my crop and put an eyelet through there. Or I could make a little buttonhole, but I thought, well, I can just put it through one of these straps actually. And on there I could put some extra thread bobbins like these, like so. Here's my whatnot all covered with pins. I can imagine this will become a real useful working thing. I'll end up with pins stuck in it and all sorts of things. I just think that's really handy, and I can imagine making some of these up with the bits and pieces that I've picked out for different projects. Or you could just colour coordinate them, or season coordinate them, or whatever. Yeah, I just love that idea, and it's a really nice way to make use of these little pieces these little slow stitch pieces that people often say, well, what are they for? They're pretty, but what are they for? Well, it's nice to look at, and it's also a useful object. So I think that is a really lovely idea. I don't know if I'd never heard of flow journals before, so I may have misinterpreted, in which case, Patty, I apologise. But I'm loving this idea, and if I wanted to, I could take this one out, file it away, and put another one in to take out with me. In practice, I think I'll probably end up with certain ones all set up and ready to go, with coordinating threads and everything in there. I just love that idea, and you can actually fit quite a lot in there. I'm going to have fun in a minute seeing how much of this I can actually fit in, and then probably any really big bits will just end up folded up, put in the middle, and just, you know. What are we on to next? I think I'm trying to squeeze too much in one video. I'm going to do a similar thing with this one, similar kind of binding, but without the cardboard, just kind of in effect make these holes into the actual fabric. Either I'll experiment and see if I can do it with the crocodile, or I'll just make little buttonholes. put fabric pages through the binding. It probably doesn't need to be elastic, it could probably just be ribbon. And then on those fabric pages I can do the stitches that Christine is showing in her little stitchery thing that she's doing at the moment. I think that'd be really fun. That kind of brings me on to my second invitation for you. So the first invitation is to the Saturday Night Live this Saturday coming, which I've already said about. My other invitation, now I don't know who might be up for this, I'm going to put it out there in the Facebook group and the Discord as well, but I really fancy doing one of those things where you do a little swap of just a little stitchery swap. I feel like I've got friends all over the world now. We've connected through our love of this stitching, this slow stitching thing, and I just think it'd be really lovely to have a little kind of almost a friendship journal with little bits of stitchery from each other. And I've got this idea that how would it, let me know in the comments if you would be up for this. I'm happy to swap with people all over the world. I think let's keep it small. Let's just make it a 10 centimetre, so that's about 4 inches or 10 centimetres. The length of the palm of my hand, square. Just a little piece of stitchery. It could be your favourite kind of quilting, it could be a mini fabric collage like the ones Tori's been doing on Cool Cookie Creatures, it could be a little some of your favourite stitches from Christine's stitchery that she's doing, it could be some hexagons or some Suffolk puff stitched onto it. It could be anything that fits into our slow stitching world, our hand stitched world. You know, whatever your favourite, no particular colours, no particular nothing, because I love the idea of making a little bit for it to go in, and then I might just kind of stitch the name of the person who sent it to me on the bottom. You know, if we all make squares, I could make the pages just a bit more than the square, and then I could embroider the person's name on the bottom or something like that. That's the kind of idea I've got in my head. What do you think? And I think, you know, at that size, it will go in a normal envelope. You could put it inside a card or something, couldn't you? And it could just go in a normal envelope post, so it shouldn't cost anybody too much money, even if we're posting to Australia and New Zealand. Hint, hint, girls. We don't need to send anything else, so there would be absolutely no expectation or obligation to send anything else, just the little square piece of whatever stitchery you feel like doing. I just think that'd be so fun. I'd love to have little pieces of stitching from all of you guys that I've been so enjoying getting to know over the last few months. It's blown me away. I was talking to Tom and to John, my hubby John, about this the other day. It's just absolutely blown me away the way our community is growing, and I'm getting quite choked up even thinking about it. It's just brilliant, and I just think it'd be a really nice thing. So let me know what you think. Who would be up for it? I would just be doing straight swaps with individual people. We could message each other. You know, we can do it by email or via Discord or Facebook or whatever. I don't want to get into organising other people swapping with each other. But you could always do that between yourselves if you want to do it. I just don't want to I don't want to take responsibility for that. But yeah, if we're just doing direct swaps with each other, I just think that would be really fun. So let me know what you think. Okay, that's that. I think I'm nearly there now. Oh yeah, another thing that I've just been so blown away to see is all the different takes on the whatnots. The whatnot kits are reaching their destinations all over the world. I don't know if anybody in Australia or New Zealand has had theirs yet. You'll have to let me know, but I know there's been some in America that have already been made up, so I've just been so excited to see and people have put their own spin on it, added their own little bits and pieces and ideas to it, and I'll definitely be putting some more together, perhaps with a slightly different spin on them next time, on the idea next time, and some different colourways and things. And I think what would be lovely to do is I'm going to put together a little roundup of, because people have shared the photos of their whatnots all over the place, Facebook, Instagram, Discord and YouTube, and I just I think I'd like to put them all together into a little montage and show what everybody's made. So I might do that, and that'll inspire the people who haven't started on their whatnots yet, and I just think, yeah, it'd just be really, and you know, whether you bought one of the kits or not, if you're making them yourself out of your own stash and that, just still please tag me and show me what you've done, because it's such a buzz, it really is. So that's that. Okay, so I have got one more thing, and this is a little freebie for you, which Tom has been helping me with. So if you remember, let's go back to my desk a minute. If you're a regular, you will have seen my Boho Bunting before. This is the silk sari bag that's temporarily gone in. I was going to make a special bag for it, but it fits this so well, it might just end up staying in here. So this is, I've shown this before, so I won't go through it all now, but this was the Boho Bunting that I made. I took it down recently because it was in danger of getting very faded in my conservatory, and this was using all of the fabrics that I got from Bazaar, recycled Indian fabrics, silks and cottons, and a few bits of old clothes and stuff. You know, on the back here is old shirts and things. And there's a whole playlist, I'll link to that below, where I did a new pennant for the bunting every single week over a 12-week period, and tried all kinds of different techniques. Shisha embroidery, I tried burning holes in the silk, different ways of making holes in the silk, all different kinds of, we made tatty tassels, we did beaded edging, I tried a bit of trapunto, applique. There's the one with all different kinds of holes, all sorts of different, there's a Suffolk puff, all sorts of different techniques and things that I go through in that. And I had a kind of basic recipe to help me with my designs each week, really. It was like a kind of like a formula rather than a recipe, perhaps. So there were 5 different pennant shapes, there were 5 different applique shapes to create the basic design. There were different ways of breaking up the basic pennant shape, and then there were five kind of easy steps to follow, so that if I sort of thought, oh, I don't know where to start this week, it just gave me that starting point and got me going, really. So a couple of people have asked for if I've got templates or a recipe for it or whatever, and I did offer that at the time. But at the time nobody said yes please can you do that, but now since people are asking now, Tom very kindly helped me put together, well he didn't help me, he just kind of did it really. I just scanned my original scribbly templates and he just worked his magic like he does, and he came up with this brilliant nicely put together PDF. Now what I'm going to do is make that available as a free download, and I'm going to put it on Gumroad. I'll put a link to Gumroad. You don't need to like start an account with them or anything, you can just, or do you might have to, but anyway, you just go through and you'll just be able to download it free. It will give you it'll have a little box where it will say donation or something on it, but if you just leave that at naught, you'll get the download free. You can give me a donation if you like, but you can but if you just make sure that's at naught and let it go through, it might, I don't know if it does or not, it might ask you for like a payment method, but it won't take anything, it will be free. Unless you choose to donate, it's free, and that will give you all of the pennant shapes, basic steps, the little applique shapes, so you can like cut out the templates and stuff and follow along the instructions and watch through the playlist. And I'm actually thinking I might go ahead and make another version of this using completely different fabrics this time, just for the fun of it, really, because when I watched a couple of bits of it back the other day and thought, actually it's quite nice just to follow along a tutorial sometimes, even if it's one I made myself. It's so long ago, I can't remember now. I can't remember how I did some of these things anymore. So don't forget to join me and Remote Tom for the live on Saturday. It's going to be a bit hairy having him not actually here in person, but hopefully that'll go fine, and we can see him do a bit of stitching as well. Put his needle where his mouth is. If you'd like to join us in the chat, remember to just give me a shout on Discord, just private message me or something just to let me know, and then we'll make sure that we pull you in, and you'll need to be waiting in the community hangout room in the voice chat, but we can go over all that. So if you'd like to join us live so that other people will be able to hear what you're saying as well, give us a shout. It's really fun. I nearly wet myself with Deb last time. Every time Deb comes on, she tells us a story that has me nearly wetting myself. It's not even a joke anymore at my age. Enough already. So I think that's it. Links to everything are below. If you've got any questions about anything, please do ask me in the comments. I had a lot to cover today, probably too much for one video, but I've got catching up because I haven't been up here for a few days. It's just been too hot. So if anything didn't make sense or I left anything out, please give me a shout. And hopefully I will see you in the Discord community or on Facebook. There'll be a couple of more videos this week, and if not before, I'll see you on Saturday for the live, I hope. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope I didn't waffle on too long, and I'll see you again really soon.